Your speakers are the single most important component in your entire hi-fi system. They are the one piece of equipment where the difference between cheap and good is not subtle. It is massive. And yet, 90% of the speakers sold today are engineered to look impressive on a spec sheet while hiding cost cuts you will never see unless you open the cabinet. If you just bought a pair of bookshelf or floor standing speakers for $300 to $2,000, or you are about to this weekend, there is a very real chance that the crossover inside is built with components that cost less than a cup of coffee. Nobody at the store is going to show you what is inside the box. Today, I am going to show you the 3 factory secrets speaker manufacturers do not want you to know, the specific design tricks that make cheap speakers sound impressive in a 5-minute demo, but terrible after a week at home, and the models that audio engineers actually use in their own listening rooms. Back in the 1970s and 80s, loudspeaker companies competed on engineering. JBL, Klipsch, Tannoy, Spendor, and Harbeth designed drivers in-house, tested them in anechoic chambers, and published real frequency response data. Crossovers used quality film capacitors and heavy-gauge air core inductors. Cabinets were thick, braced, and designed to be acoustically dead. You could buy a pair of JBL L100s or Klipsch Heresies and keep them for 30 years. Many people still do. If a driver failed, you could order a replacement directly from the manufacturer and install it yourself with a screwdriver. If a crossover capacitor dried out after 20 years, any electronics hobbyist could swap it for a few dollars. These speakers were designed to be serviced, not thrown away. But starting in the 2000s, the economics of the speaker industry changed completely. Manufacturing consolidated into a handful of OEM factories, most of them in Guangdong, China. Brands that once designed and built everything in-house started ordering drivers, cabinets, and even complete crossover assemblies from the same contract manufacturers. The result is a market flooded with speakers that look different on the outside, but share remarkably similar and remarkably cheap internals. Here are the 3 factory secrets. Secret number 1. The crossover is where manufacturers steal your money. The crossover is the electronic circuit inside your speaker that splits the audio signal between the woofer, the mid-range, and the tweeter. It is arguably the most important part of the speaker after the drivers themselves. A well-designed crossover uses precision film capacitors, air core inductors wound with thick copper wire, and carefully selected resistors. These components can easily cost $50 to $100 per speaker in a mid-range design, and several hundred in a high-end one. Here is what happens in budget and even many mid-price speakers. The film capacitors get replaced with cheap electrolytic capacitors that drift in value over time and pass high frequencies less cleanly. The air core inductors get swapped for tiny ferrite core coils that saturate under high power and introduce measurable distortion. The resistors become the cheapest wire wound types available. A crossover that should cost $60 to build properly ends up costing $3 in parts. You cannot see this from the outside. The speaker still plays music, but the difference in clarity, imaging, and dynamic range compared to a properly built crossover is not small. It is the difference between a blurry photo and a sharp one. And here is the worst part. Some manufacturers use DSP, digital signal processing, to mask the problems caused by cheap crossover components and mediocre drivers. They tune the frequency response digitally to look flat on a measurement, but the underlying distortion, the poor transient response, and the phase issues are still there. The measurement looks good, the speaker still sounds wrong. Secret number 2, the lifestyle speaker trap. Over the last decade, the fastest growing segment of the speaker market is not hi-fi. It is lifestyle audio. Speakers sold primarily on design, brand name, wireless convenience, and how they look in your living room. Think Sonos, Devialet Phantom, Bang & Olufsen, Bose, and the countless Bluetooth speakers that dominate Amazon search results. These products are not bad at what they do, but they are marketed as if they compete with real hi-fi, and they do not. A Devialet Phantom costs $2,000 and delivers impressive bass from a tiny enclosure using DSP tricks. But it cannot image, it cannot stage, and it cannot resolve fine detail the way a properly set up pair of passive speakers at half the price can. A Bose system is engineered for maximum wow factor in a 30-second showroom demo, punchy bass, bright highs, and a deliberately scooped mid-range that sounds exciting at first, but fatiguing after an hour. The industry calls this a smile curve, a frequency response shaped like a U, with boosted bass and treble and a recessed mid-range. It grabs attention. But it is the opposite of accurate. Every detail in vocals, every texture in acoustic instruments, every spatial cue that tells your brain where a musician is standing, all of that lives in the mid-range, and the smile curve hides it. Secret number 3. Your room matters more than your speakers. This is the secret the entire speaker industry has zero incentive to tell you. The acoustics of your listening room have a bigger impact on what you hear than the difference between a $1,000 speaker and a $5,000 speaker. An untreated room introduces comb filtering, standing waves, and early reflections that can cause 10 to 15 decibel swings in the bass response alone. That means certain bass notes boom uncontrollably while others nearly disappear, regardless of how flat your speaker measures in a lab. A pair of excellent $1,000 speakers in an untreated room will sound worse than a pair of decent $500 speakers in a room with basic acoustic treatment. Yet almost nobody in the speaker business tells you this because they sell speakers, not acoustic panels. The irony is that basic treatment is cheap. A pair of 2-inch thick rock wool or fiberglass panels at your first reflection points, the walls to the left and right of your listening position, costs well under $200 if you build them yourself. A thick rug on a hard floor costs even less. These simple changes can tighten your bass, clean up your imaging, and reveal detail that was always in the recording but hidden by your room. No speaker upgrade at any price can do what proper placement and basic treatment can do for free. Quick question before I show you what to buy instead. Please subscribe to the channel for supporting me making more videos like this, and at the end of this video, drop a like and comment with your opinion. So what speakers are actually worth your money? Here is what audio engineers, independent reviewers, and measurement sites consistently recommend. I am going to give you 5 picks across different budgets, from entry-level to the point of serious diminishing returns. At number 5, for the absolute budget buyer, the ELAC Debut 2.0 B6.2. Designed by Andrew Jones, one of the most respected speaker engineers in the world, this bookshelf speaker costs around $350 a pair. It uses a woven aramid fiber woofer and a 1-inch cloth dome tweeter. Independent measurements from Aaron's Audio Corner show a remarkably smooth frequency response for the price. It is not perfect. It needs a decent amplifier and benefits from a subwoofer. But for the money, nothing comes close. Andrew Jones previously designed speakers for Pioneer and TAD, brands known for serious engineering, and he brought that philosophy to a mass-market price point. The ELAC Debut series is proof that great sound does not require a premium price tag. At number 4, the Q Acoustics 5020, a British-designed floor stander that punches well above its price of around $1,000. It uses a technique called Helmholtz Pressure Equalizer, HPE, to reduce internal cabinet resonances. What Hi-Fi gave it 5 stars, and real-world users consistently praise its warm, spacious sound. At number 3, the KF Q3 Meta. This is the entry point into KEF's UniQ driver technology with metamaterial absorption technology, the same engineering philosophy behind their award-winning LS50 Meta, but at around $650. You get a single-point source, wide dispersion, and clean, detailed sound without harshness. At number 2, the Wharfedale Linton Heritage, a modern reissue of a classic 1965 British design. These 3-way speakers use real wood veneer, a 200mm woven Kevlar bass driver, and a beautifully tuned crossover. At around $1,100 with matching stands, they deliver a warm, musical, and richly detailed sound that makes you want to listen for hours. And at number 1, active studio monitors. If pure accuracy and value for money are your priorities, nothing in consumer hi-fi competes with professional studio monitors. The JBL 306 PMK2 costs around $400 a pair and includes built-in amplification specifically matched to its drivers. The Genelec 8030C costs around $800 a pair and features automatic room correction, DSP, called GLM, that measures your room and adjusts the speaker's output to compensate. This is the technology that recording studios use to ensure what they hear is what actually ends up on the recording. You can buy it for less than most mid-range consumer speakers cost, and it will sound more accurate than almost anything in a hi-fi showroom. The reason the consumer hi-fi industry rarely recommends studio monitors is simple. There is no upsell, no separate amplifier needed, no expensive speaker cables, no preamp. You connect them to a source, press play, and the music is just there. Accurate, detailed, and honest. That simplicity is terrible for an industry built on convincing you to keep upgrading. Here is the rule I want you to remember. Speakers first, room second. Everything else is a rounding error. If you have a $2,000 budget for your system, spend at least 60% of it on speakers. Then spend $200 on basic acoustic treatment, a pair of absorption panels at the first reflection points, and a thick rug between you and the speakers if you have hard floors. The remaining budget goes to a clean DAC and amplifier. And as I showed in my last video, audible transparency in electronics is cheap. A $130 topping DAC and a $500 integrated amplifier will not be the bottleneck. Your speakers and your room will. The bottom line? Most speakers sold today are designed to win a 5-minute showroom demo, not to deliver years of honest, accurate music reproduction. Cheap crossovers, smile curve tuning, and lifestyle marketing are hiding the fact that the internals often cost a fraction of what you paid. The speaker industry profits from your ignorance about room acoustics because the moment you treat your room, you stop blaming your speakers, and you stop buying new ones. Meanwhile, measurement-verified speakers from brands like KEF, Eolake, Wharfdale, Q Acoustics, and professional monitors from JBL, Genelec, and Neumann deliver genuinely excellent sound at prices that would have been unthinkable a decade ago. Speakers first, room second, everything else is a rounding error, that is it. If this helped you, subscribe, because the next videos are coming. How old are your current speakers? Write it in the comments and leave a like. See you next time.